Hello. In this unit, we're going to talk about not getting thrown under the bus. What does that mean? That means when people start blaming you for things that probably aren't your fault. The greatest and quickest way to get thrown under the bus is not by staying on top of your files, by not communicating with every party that needs to know the information, by not talking with the listing agent, by not talking with the buyer's agent, by not talking with your clients who you did an application with. A breakdown in communication is the quickest way for you to get blamed for things not working out, because it's just like anything else in life. People will always take the easiest route, and they will always blame the weakest person in any transaction. So you want to make sure that's not you. You want to make sure you're on top of it, that you're sending regular updates via email and phone call, and that you're really just on top of your business and nobody can deny it. The one other place where you can get thrown under the bus very, very easily is at the closing table. If there's a closing table in your state, or if you have the ability to sit down with the notary as the notary is doing all the paperwork, I would encourage you to be there, especially if you're in a judicial closing state or a state that actually has a physical closing table where everybody sits there and passes around the paperwork. That is so important. Whoever does not show up and anything goes wrong, they will blame that person, because it's so much easier to blame a person who's not in the room versus somebody who's right in front of them. Don't get thrown under the bus. Don't set yourself up for failure. And even though you're saying to yourself, I don't need to be there, everything will be taken care of, something might catch on fire right on the spot. And if you're there to take care of it, pick up the cell phone and cure it while you're physically in the proximity of the buyers and sellers and agents, it'll go down really good. Also, there's the fact that if you're at the closing table or in a setting where you're there with the other agent that you didn't have contact with before face-to-face, you can actually start building some relationship there and be able to follow up with them and talk with them. So, how do we not get thrown under the bus? Clearly communicate. Follow up every single week, and on top of that, make sure you're there when the paperwork is getting signed for the closing. On a purchase, it is so important that you're there. Refinances are a little bit different. You can just simply let them happen and handle it over the phone. But for a purchase, there's so much anxiety. There's such a big investment going on. There's so many big numbers flying around that you need to be there to clearly explain what's going on and to make sure the other realtor is not sitting there reinterpreting your numbers for you and making the people feel panicked about what's going on. Because that's where a lot of people stop and say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with this. I just don't know what to do. And that's where all kinds of fires get started, and you have to put them out over the phone. So be there, be on top of your business, and show up for the game. And if you simply stay in contact and show up on the important days, everything else will work itself out. Now let's talk about in the next unit of closing that file on time and making sure that everything is done and all of our loose ends are wrapped up so that that closing goes as smoothly as possible.